this is how I draw the leeboard onto a plywood. You can see here the trace lines. I trace this and scale it from OpenOffice. So this is how I draw. This is one leeboard, this is two leeboards, second one, and that is the outline. If you can see it, I drew it with a pen. That is the rudder. It's just a regular plywood. If you can see here, it's just a regular, I think it's probably 7-8 mil plywood. I won't mind the durability in water at the moment. In the future, I might get one of these or something better like a polycarbonate material, which is 100% waterproof. Then I can trim it. I can skim this, shave it with a planer, and make it into a good foil for sailing. So you don't actually need a lot of tools to cut all the components for this build. I have a good saw. This good saw, it cuts really clean. That's good enough. Just so you know, this video has been fast forwarded. I wish I can work faster like this. If I can work like this as fast, I'll probably make $1 million in a month. As you can see, I'm using a regular saw and also that small saw that cuts into corners. Or if you have a jigsaw, an electric jigsaw, you can use a jigsaw as well. So cut all the shapes out. Take your time, don't rush into it. Now, what I'm doing is I'm scribing out the profile where I'm going to trim the corners into a profile so that it slices into the water, it travels with better flow when the kayak is moving forward. I went online, I checked on profiles that I have stored on my phone, scribe it with a pencil, have a sharp blade planer and plane it off. I know you're not supposed to plane a plywood, it's not right, but I just want to do it just to see if it works. So it doesn't matter, you can use plywood and just plane it off and see how it goes first. If it works for you, you can also use a piece of wood, a plank, you can shape it, and you probably get better results than I do, because plywood is layered in many layers, many thin layers, and glued together like a wafer. So when you plane it, it will chip off and you'll see like very rough edges. There are like a lot of holes and gaps. So we deal with that later. This is first look how I plane everything down, compared to the next board so that it looks equal, it looks even, it looks identical to each other. After you have carefully planed everything down, what you want to do is you run a coarse grit sandpaper just to remove all the splinters. You won't smooth much, but it helps. Every little helps. Smooth down the edges. Maybe if you can't get the planer to profile it properly, you can use a rough grit, coarse grit sandpaper and just plane it down and make it shape better, make it flow better, it looks better. After all the sanding down, now I'm using a filler, a powdered filler that I mix with water. That's not milk, that's just water, clear water. Mix it to your consistency and I use it to fill up all the gaps. Remember, this is plywood, so plywood will have a lot of gaps. So as you can see, I'm using a somewhat like a putty knife. It's a scraper. So fill up all the gaps, get it real smooth, fill up a little bit more than it's supposed to be, and then later when it cures, when it dries out, you're gonna file it, or you can use a sandpaper and plane it down to shape and make it real smooth. I prefer to leave it overnight to have it 100% dry. Sometimes you get wet spots where it goes soft. See, this is overnight. Overnight, left it for the next day, and then sand it down. Fill it with your fingers. Careful not to get splinters. I'm used to it, so sand it down some more. If it feels good on your fingers, it will look good on the paints. Then, after all the sanding down, I have a pre-marked holes that guide holes that I'm going to put in the mounts, tie points, and mounts and tie points basically. This is very important. You must make sure that you have everything on plan. After all the drilling, after all the sanding, prepping, Now I'm using I would say this is called a bituminous compound. Supposed to be for roof seal that it will last 10 years. It says 10 years. So it should last a long time. So it won't rot. Well, at least it will stop water for at least 10 trips down to the water, but down to the beach. This is the first coat. I went 2 coats of the bituminous compound, which it will turn into like rubber. This is a very good protective coat, even just for a temporary one. It works. If you don't have any bituminous compound, what you can use is gloss paints as well. If you can use gloss paints, or you have beeswax, gloss paints, anything that stops water, anything that you see water beads off, that would be great compound, great material, great paint for the great coating for the rudder or the leeboards. After curing the bituminous compound for, I think I left it for 2 days, 3 days, because I was kind of busy, so it's good to just leave it for a longer time. Now what I'm doing is I'm waxing the surface. As you can see, I'm just using a tea light candle with a lighter and a heat gun with a brush. So what you do is just heat it up, heat the surface up, not too hot. If you have gloss paint, you don't want to be too hot. Too hot is gonna cause blisters to grow out on the paints. It's gonna weaken the paint instead. So go slow, go easy, not too hot. If you don't have a heat gun, if you're indoors, you can use hairdryer. A hairdryer works too, but it take longer for you to melt the wax. Or if you have surf wax, you can also use it, but the problem with surf wax is it's sticky. So if you lay it down on the beach, it's gonna stick to all the all the sands, all the pebbles, seashells, everything's gonna stick to it. Well, blackout candles that you use in a blackout, or like tea light candles, will be more than enough.